I'm still bullish on RSR, and at the price of 35 cents during this bull run, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And the reason for that is because I think that Reserve as a project is very special. I mean, you got to think about this, right? After all, it's focused on stable currency. Now, here's where things get a little bit cooking, because they're actually not focused on creating their own, currency themselves, so to speak. But instead, what they do is that they allow anyone to create a token that is backed one-to-one by a collection of other tokens. And the amazing thing about it is that, for instance, this can be done in just a matter of minutes in some cases, and also without writing any code. I mean, could you imagine that? That's insane. This is almost pretty much unheard of if you really think about it. This is how amazing Reserve is. They're revolutionizing the way people take a look at stuff like this. But even besides that, we take a look at what is this token called? It's called an R token. And again, anyone can quite essentially create an R token. And what is this R token supposed to be backed? Again, it really does depend on the creator. So this is the amazing thing about it. These people, they can, quite essentially create their own token that is just pretty much different from the others that we see. Now, for instance, we take a look at a very popular R token in this case. We take a look at EUSD. Now, what is this backed by? It's backed by a collection of USDT and USDC. And here's where the genius of Reserve steps in, because again, it's a collection of other tokens. So in that sense, it does give a lot more stability to the token, because again, you never know what might happen to one of the tokens, right? Of course, I'm not saying there will be anything bad that's going to happen to USDT or USDC. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying this does give greater insurance for something like EUSD. So I really love that concept. However, you may be wondering, okay, this is cool and all, but where does RSR step into all this? Now, here's the thing. As an RSR holder, we can actually choose which R token we want to stake our RSR on. It's not predetermined. Again, we can choose, because that's the amazing thing about it. But even besides that, if we actually choose an R token, then we stake it on that R token. What happens to the staked RSR? Quite essentially, it does act as a collateral, so to speak, somewhat as an insurance policy for that R token. And as a result, the stakers, they do gain rewards. And also on top of that, they can also vote for that R token in terms of the governance. So that's very amazing when it comes to RSR. It's not like it's useless, if that makes sense. Now, catch this, right? I've been believing in RSR for a long time. When I first started talking about RSR, RSR staking wasn't even a thing yet, if you really think about it back then. This is how long I've been talking about RSR. But I think better days are ahead, because if you take a look at Reserve, again, they're focused on stable currency. And of course, something like this can, for instance, be used in the payments market. And if you take a look at the payments market currently, it's valued at over $2 trillion, which is insane if you think about it. The GDP of Canada, keep in mind, back in 2022, was around $2 trillion. So this is insane. And of course, naturally, as, the economy does develop, naturally, as there's more and more people in this world, it's only fair to assume that something like the payments market is going to, just get bigger and bigger. So I really love that. This is what I really love about Reserve. This is the amazing thing about them. So with all that being said, really, is RSR at the price of 35 cents some crazy pipe dream, some random nonsense caca? No, I disagree, because, for instance, if RSR were to go to the price of 35 cents, considering current circulating supply, at that point, market cap would be around $18 billion, which really isn't too bad. I mean, for instance, we've seen, Shiba Inu reach around 40 billion. We've seen Doge reach over 80 billion. We've even seen BNB reach over $100 billion in market cap. So if you really think about it, is this like some insane figure? No, I don't think so. It's so low in the grand scheme of things. Now, why did I use like meme coin examples like Doge and SHIB? It's because even though it's not a direct comparison, because of course Doge and SHIB has so much fans, so much hype, I totally understand that. But I just wanted to showcase how reaching, over $18 billion in market cap, let's say, in the world of cryptocurrencies isn't unheard of. It's not insane. This market cap isn't even 50% of Shiba Inu's all-time high market cap, let alone Dogecoin. Dogecoin reached this by over, 60 billion. So it's not insane. Now, you take a look at BNB, though. Now, BNB reached over 100 billion in the past. But in my opinion, I just kind of don't get it. Because if you take a look at, the BNB smart chain ecosystem, just last year, slightly over 2% of the crypto hacks that happened actually occurred on there, according to Crypto.com research. Which, if you actually think about it, the crypto space overall is so massive. So slightly over 2%. That's really bad, in my opinion. Now, again, that's just the way I view it, but I still think that's very unacceptable. So, yeah, that's like over 5 times this. I don't see why it's crazy. Again, BNB reached over 100 billion. So RSR at around a, $18 billion market cap. I don't see why not. Now, granted, with that being said, though, what is another major bullish factor which I think could very well contribute to RSR reaching great heights? You take a look at the Bitcoin ETF. That's massive. The number of institutional investors is through the roof. Enterprise adoption is fantastic right now when it comes to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, with all that taken into consideration, can't go to the price of at least $150,000 during this bull run. I think hypothetically that's very realistic, especially when you combine that with the fact that, there's currently over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's actually not that much because the world has billions upon billions of people, but given some perspective, it's actually a lot because back in 2021, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly only around 300 million crypto owners. So now we basically have like double that amount. So imagine all the FOMO we saw back then, right? The buying pressure, the buying volume, everything. It could be so ridiculous, but in just a more amplified way this time around. So could you imagine, with all that taken into consideration, as Bitcoin reaches the price of 150,000, altcoins, much like RSR, I think naturally they're going to go along with the ride. So at that point, RSR at the price of 35 cents, I don't see why not. Also, on top of that, I'm focused on things that are within my control. Now, what do I mean by that? Like dollar cost averaging, anytime an income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, that's it. I'm not into day trading. I'm not into using leverage. I'm not into swing trading. I'm not into any of that type of stuff. Some people want to do it. Up to them, it's their choice, but I just like to keep things simple. Again, anytime an income, I acquire, I hold, and I just wait. Now, I've been doing that, by the way, ever since 2021, so you can only imagine that. My dedication has been, waiting for quite a while now, quite essentially, but I'm still going to stay dedicated because, historically speaking, altcoins, they've been known to peak around, 6 to 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, at the Bitcoin halving event, the most recent one happened back in April. So 6 months is October this year. 18 months is, of course, October next year. Now, do I think it's going to happen like best case scenario, like October this year? I don't think so. It could, hypothetically, I guess, but you never really know. But again, I'm more so taking a look at 2025. Now, if let's say I have to wait a worst case scenario up until October of next year, it's kind of fine, actually, because if anything, it's actually more time for me to accumulate. Now, granted, I've been accumulating for quite a while now, but, waiting a little bit longer, fine. It's totally cool because if you actually take a look at all the nonsense events that happened from 2021, right? You take a look at, ever since then up until right now, the FTX crash, Celsius, 3 Arrows Capital, right? There was some FUD about, quite essentially Grayscale, all this type of stuff. Also FUD about USDT, all this type of nonsense. But guess what happened? We've been through all that, right? All the FUD about exchanges, like, oh, wow, is Crypto.com going to do this, going to do that? What's going to happen here? Despite all that, guess what? The crypto space overall is still standing. I think that we're making a pretty good recovery as of right now. Better days are ahead. And I think when it comes to RSR, if it's been through all that, I feel like I ran an 8-mile marathon, or should I say I've run 8 miles, and then it's a 10-mile marathon. So I'm kind of nearing the finish line. So I'm not going to give up right now. If anything, my dedication and my belief has to be better than it's ever been before, because if we're close to the finish line, at least, the way I view it, if I'm close to the finish line, I have to have a stronger dedication because I don't want to give up right now. I hypothetically want to see my prediction, also hypothetically become a reality. And I can't wait. All I got to do is just wait. Let's say around a year from right now as the worst case scenario. Fine. RSR at the price of 35 cents during this bull run, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think this bull run could be so fantastic. And I do believe that, reserve is so amazing. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.